I'm dying at 7 months pregnant, and the one behind it is my husband. Hearing that a premature baby's blood can save my sister, he conspires with a shady clinic to take the baby out through surgery. After draining the baby's blood, he walks away, leaving my fragile preemie to die. Later, my parents say, "You owe Ivy, it's time to repay her." My husband says, "We can always have another child. A baby's life can't possibly be more important than Ivy's, can it?" The overwhelming rage and grief cause me to bleed to death. My soul floats above them as I watch them prepare my sister's surgery. They don't even bother to change me into clean clothes. No one mourns me. No one loses their mind over my death. Without a care, they wheel me into the morgue and celebrate Yvonne's recovery. When I open my eyes again, I've gone back 3 months earlier, to the day my whole family forced me to divorce. Chapter I sat in the luxurious living room, staring at faces once so familiar to me. In a daze, I could almost see the white surgical lights flickering above me. "Whitney, please, just sign the divorce papers," Mom pleaded, tears filling her eyes. "This is Ivy's final wish." She sat across from me and held Yvonne's hand, looking at me as if I were a convicted criminal. Dad stood by the window, his expression hard. "Back when you came back, you took Luke from Ivy. That's why she was diagnosed with depression. You owe her this much," he said. "Now that she's near the end, you can't even grant her last wish." I rested my hand on the swell of my belly and glanced at Luke, seated opposite me. "Do you also want to divorce me and marry Yvonne?" He rubbed his brow, frustration etched on his face. "Whitney, Ivy's really sick. I grew up with her and should have been with her. If only you hadn't returned." "Stop forcing, Whitney." Yvonne cut him off, her voice trembling. "I know I don't deserve Luke. I'm nothing compared to Whitney." Tears spilled down her cheeks as she collapsed into his arms, and he instinctively held her. "Although Mom and Dad raised me and I grew up with Luke, I'm still not truly part of this family." "Ivy, don't say that," Mom exclaimed. "You'll always be our daughter." She wiped her tears, her heart aching for Yvonne's plight. But as soon as she turned around, the tenderness in her eyes hardened into fury. "Whitney, you were never Elaine to begin with. How could you refuse your sister's last wish? You're so ungrateful." "This is for Ivy," Dad warned. "Don't be so selfish, Ivy. Trust me, I'll give you a grand wedding," Luke whispered to her, then glared at me. "Whitney, Ivy's your sister. I thought you were kind. We're not going to be a real couple. It's just to fulfill her last wish. You really won't agree?" I stared at the divorce papers, my hands trembling. In both my past life and this one, they had always stood with Yvonne. Because of a nurse's mistake, Yvonne and I were switched at birth. I had only reunited with the Lane family last year at first, I thought I had finally found a home and a family who loved me, but from the moment I returned, I had been an outsider. My parents blamed me for stealing Yvonne's boyfriend, for taking the love they thought should have been hers, but they were the ones who had searched the world to bring me back. And Luke was the one who had begged me to marry him. Chapter in my past life, I had clung to them with everything I had, but in the end, I still lost, and I died. Even my baby became nothing more than a sacrifice in their twisted tragedy. Back then, I had begged them in front of that shady clinic, pleading to spare my child's life, yet they still pushed me into the operating room. Memories of my past suffering made my chest ache. Since they hadn't wanted me then, I figured I might as well let them have their way this time. "Fine, I'll sign the papers." Everyone was stunned. None of them had expected me, who had been so stubborn and furious, to agree so quickly. In my past life, I had even threatened suicide, but in the end, it was Dad who forced my hand to sign. Luke and Yvonne went on to have a lavish wedding, even live streaming the ceremony. While I was locked alone in a bedroom, I had clicked on the live stream, only to have my heart shattered the instant I saw them together on screen. I closed it immediately. Everyone had shared their joy, except me. This time, I already knew what the divorce would bring. Why hold on to him? It was